The cargo hold of the Meridian Serpent reeked of ozone and burnt metal. Captain Vexar stood over his latest prize, his four eyes gleaming with satisfaction as his crew sorted through the plundered supplies. The attack had been effortless. The human colony ship had barely put up a fight before surrendering. Vexar was a Krynoth, a species whose reputation preceded them across 7 star systems. With chitinous armor plating and mandibles that could crush durasteel, the Krynoth pirates were feared throughout the Outer Rim. Vexar himself had accumulated 43 kills in personal combat, and his ship carried the scars of 100 raids. A commotion near the prisoner bay drew his attention. 2 of his crew were struggling with something, their translator units crackling with frustrated clicks. "Captain," First Mate Zelthor called out, "we have a problem with one of the humans." Vexar lumbered over, his massive frame casting shadows across the holding cells. Inside one cage, a human child no more than 12 cycles old stood with his back against the wall. The boy's clothes were torn and blood trickled from a cut above his eye, but his stance was defiant. "This small thing?" Vexar rumbled with amusement. "What problem could it possibly cause?" "He bit Corvin," Zelthor explained. Drew blood through his exosuit. Then he tried to gouge out Ralx's primary eye. Vexar studied the boy with renewed interest. Most species cowered when captured by Krynoth raiders. Even adult warriors would submit once they understood the futility of resistance. But this human child stood there, fists clenched, chest heaving, staring directly at Vexar with eyes that held no fear, only fury. "What is your designation, human?" Vexar asked, crouching to meet the boy's gaze. "My name is Marcus," the boy spat. "And you murdered my parents." Vexar's mandibles clicked in what passed for a Krynoth smile. "We raid for supplies, not blood. Your parents attacked us first. They made their choice." Marcus lunged forward, slamming against the energy bars of his cell. The shock should have knocked him unconscious, but he merely stumbled back, then charged again. And again. Each impact sent visible currents through his small frame, but he kept coming. "Fascinating," Vexar murmured. Zelthor disabled the barrier. "I want to see something." "Captain, that's—" "Do it!" The energy field flickered off. Marcus burst forward immediately. But Vexar caught him with one massive hand around his torso. The boy immediately began fighting, punching, kicking, even trying to bite through the thick armor plating. His attacks were clumsy, untrained, but they were relentless. Vexar had captured thousands of beings across dozens of species. He had seen warriors accept defeat with dignity. He had seen civilians beg for mercy. He had seen berserkers charge to their deaths in final glorious stands. But he had never seen anything like this. The human child was broken, outmatched, and completely helpless. Logic dictated surrender. Survival instinct demanded submission. Yet Marcus fought on, his small fists striking again and again against armor that would never yield, driven by something Vexar couldn't quite comprehend. It wasn't battle rage. Krynoth warriors understood that well. It wasn't desperation. Cornered prey fought with desperation. This was something else entirely, something burning behind those human eyes that refused to be extinguished even when every rational calculation said to give up. "Why do you persist?" Vexar asked, genuinely curious. "You cannot win. You cannot escape. You will only hurt yourself." Marcus stopped struggling for just a moment, meeting Vexar's gaze. "Because that's what humans do," he said, his voice barely a whisper but carrying absolute conviction. "We don't stop. We don't quit, even when we should." In that moment, Vexar understood why the Galactic Council had classified humanity as a Category 7 emerging species despite their primitive technology. He understood why the briefings warned against engaging human ships even when victory seemed certain. It wasn't their weapons. It wasn't their numbers. It was this incomprehensible refusal to accept defeat that defied every evolutionary survival mechanism. This absolute irrational determination that made them more dangerous wounded than most species were at full strength. Vexar had built his reputation on knowing when prey was broken. This child by all measures should be broken, but he wasn't, and Vexar realized, with a certainty that chilled his blood, that Marcus never would be. The captain set the boy down carefully and reactivated the cell barrier. He turned to Zelthor, his decision made, set course for the nearest human outpost. "Full speed, Captain." Zelthor's confusion was evident. "We're returning the prisoners. All of them. But the supplies, the profits," Vexar silenced him with a gesture. I have raided for 30 years across the rim. I know when I've encountered prey, and I know when I've encountered a predator. He glanced back at Marcus, who still stood defiant despite his injuries. That species is not prey. Today they are weak, but they will not always be. And when they grow strong, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. As the Meridian Serpent changed course, Vexar made a personal log entry, something he rarely did. Future Krynoth raiders needed to understand what he had learned. Humanity was not to be trifled with, not because of their technology or their ships, but because of what burned inside them. That inexplicable fire that refused to die even in the smallest and weakest among them. Vexar had seen that fire in Marcus's eyes. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that it would one day burn across the stars. It was better to make friends with that fire than to stand in its path. 3 days later, when they released the prisoners at the human colony of New Terra, Marcus was the last to leave. Before stepping off the ship, he turned back to Vexar. "I'll remember you," the boy said simply. Vexar nodded slowly. "And I will remember you, Marcus of humanity. I suspect the galaxy will remember your kind as well." As he watched the humans reunite with their people, Vexar made another decision. The Krynoth Brotherhood would vote on his proposal next cycle, but he was confident it would pass. From this day forward, human ships were off limits. The risk was simply too great. After all, if their children fought like this, what would their warriors be capable of when humanity finally reached the stars in force? Vexar had no desire to find out.